Okay, very good. So we have our nonconformity management process. It is required when you have an accreditation that you have a formal process established. And today I'm going to basically talk to you about some definitions. What is nonconformity? What is considered a nonconformity? The difference between minor, major nonconformities, the structure of a nonconformity, how we write nonconformities,
Mm-hmm.
the requirements, especially ISO 17021, the procedure we have, which is the GOP 015, the ICAR system, the part of the software workflow that we use to record the nonconformities, and the timelines to answer the nonconformities. So this is pretty
Yes.
much the agenda. So there's going to be a point of this training that I created like some exercise for you. So then I'm going to pause the training and then I'm going to send that to you. So it's going to be like I'm going to provide to you a scenario and I'll ask you to write the nonconformity and think on possible actions. Just
Okay.
yeah, just an exercise so you get used to the structure of the nonconformities. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So um,
I'm sorry. One question.
mhm.
You will be recording from now or from later on?
It's recording already.
Okay.
Yeah. So the as I said in the previous discussion that we had, ISO 17021-1 2015 is like our Bible. It's where we have the document that outlines the main requirements, accreditation requirements. And
Mm-hmm.
the document has a section called definitions. And among those definitions, we have the definitions for nonconformity. So, section 3.11 says that a nonconformity is a non-fulfillment of a requirement. So, it can be a non-fulfillment of a requirement from ISO 17021-1. It can be a non-fulfillment of a requirement of our internal procedures. And it can be a non-fulfillment of a requirement of any other relevant regulation, like the IAF documents. So every time you see that something should be done in a certain way, and because this is a requirement, and you don't see evidence that it's being performed appropriately, it's a
Mm-hmm.
nonconformity. So
Okay.
the section 3.12 defines what is a major nonconformity. So the major nonconformity is a nonconformity that affects the capability of the management system to achieve the intended results. Then this section has a note. Nonconformities could be classified as major if the following in the following circumstances. So if there is a significant doubt that effective process control is in place, or that products or services will meet specified requirements. So when you're auditing and you see that there is a key aspect of the process that ensure the adequacy of the service or the product, and this requirement is not being followed, then you may classify that as a major nonconformity. For
Okay.
instance, um, TUV we are a certification body. We perform third party audits and we issue certificates when we have evidence that the customers comply with the requirements of the standards. We need to send qualified auditors to the companies, right?
Right.
So, in order to qualify auditors, as we saw in the previous training, we need to follow certain requirements. So, in terms of education, training, and work experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, if during an audit we identify that a certain auditor do not meet the requirements of qualification, that can be classified as a major nonconformity because you don't have evidence that that auditor meets the minimum requirements to perform the given audit. So let's say it's an audit in a company that manufactures chemical products, and our procedure says that in order to audit a company that manufactures chemicals, the auditor needs previous experience in the chemical industry. And then the accreditation auditor, let's say, asks us to show evidence, and we cannot show evidence that they have that experience. So that can be classified as a major nonconformity because, yeah, the auditor doesn't meet the minimum requirement, and also the integrity of the audit that the auditor performed is questionable because if the auditor doesn't have the required competency, he might not be able to perform a correct audit.
Okay.
Just a second, let me grab some water here. Okay, so um, there is another aspect to be considered as a major nonconformity when a number of minor nonconformities associated with the same requirement or issue could demonstrate a systemic failure and thus constitute a major nonconformity. For example, let's say that at TUV USA, we need to um, record um, the attendance of the audit. So when the audit is performed, there is a list of attendees, and the auditor is supposed to collect their signatures. So that's not, if you find a single case, it's a minor nonconformity because
Mhm.
the auditor is supposed to collect the attendance, but you found a single case that doesn't compromise the result of the audit.
Okay.
But if the accreditation auditor samples, let's say, 10 files to review, and in all those 10 files, he doesn't, or in the majority of the files, he doesn't find the list of attendance, then that can be a major nonconformity because TUV is systematically not recording the attendance of the audit. So yeah, a major nonconformity is either something that compromises the integrity of the product or the service, or is a systemic failure. Several examples of minor nonconformities, then that can be combined into one major. So then the definition of minor nonconformity, a nonconformity that does not affect the capability of the management system to achieve the intended results. So it's like the example I gave, like you find a single case and it's still a nonconformity, but it's a minor.
Okay.
Okay, so if you have any question at any time, just feel free to ask.
Yeah, sure.
So the structure of a nonconformity. So for us, or for anyone who has to address a nonconformity, it is important to understand the nonconformity, to understand the problem. Okay, so then we have this structure that provides a statement. So the statement of the nonconformity describes the requirement that is not being addressed properly. We're going to see an example. So then we have the objective evidence. The objective evidence describes the situation that was found during the audit or the assessment that demonstrates that the requirement is not being addressed. And then we have the requirement itself that describes the number and the text of a requirement of the standard, or it can be a procedure, a guideline that is not being addressed. So here we have an example. So I obtained this example from one of the audits that we had. So in that case, the statement was, of the nonconformity was TUV Inc. use of marks process is not effective in all cases in ensuring they exercise proper control and ownership and take action to deal with incorrect references to certification status or misleading use of certification documents, marks, or audit reports as required by ISO 17021-1 A35. So basically, what the auditor does with the statement, he takes the requirement from the standard and then he converts that into a statement saying that we do not do this. We are not controlling properly the use of our marks, certificate, and audit reports. So, a background on this particular nonconformity. Yeah, we are supposed to control. There are requirements on how the industry, the certified customer, should use our mark of conformity and the certificate we issue. Because remember, when we certify a customer and we give them a certificate, the certificate doesn't belong to the customer. The certificate is still property of TUV USA. And the use of the certificate that the customer does is controlled. So the objective evidence, what was found during the audit. So the auditor says that the following examples were noted where TUV USA Inc. clients were making incorrect references to the certification status or misleading use of certification documents, marks, or audit reports. Then he referenced that the company DHS International website, and then he provides the link to the website. Mark and reference, they are ISO 9001 2015 and AS 9120B certified on the page with the activities and services that are not in the scope of the certification. So you remember that the scope of the certification identify the activities that are controlled by the quality management system. So in this case, the client was associating our certificate to activities that they do, they are not covered by the scope of the certification. So it's misleading. It's like telling that this activity is part of the scope when it's not.
Okay.
The second example that he found, the Jet
Okay.
Seal Inc.
For the first example,
Mm,
sorry.
it's okay.
In this case, like the non-conformity is for us, not for the customer, even though the customer is the one that is using like wrong the certificate.
Yes, because um, there is a requirement, this A35, that says that we, the certification body TUV USA, needs to control the use of the certificate
Okay.
by the customer. Okay, so
Um,
what? So and then we failed on do that because the customer was making inappropriate use. But
yeah.
how are we supposed to know if the customer is making appropriate use or not? So when we send our auditors to the industry, part of what they have to check is the correct use of the certificate. So what actually happened maybe is that our auditor when auditing this company failed on checking the appropriate use of the marks and certificate. So our auditor should be there and say, "Hey, let me see your website." And then he's going to read into that. Hey, wait a minute. You're not supposed to make a misleading statement. You are associating activities to our certificate. They are not within the scope. And then our auditor should have issued a nonconformity to the customer so the customer could correct that. But
Mm-hmm.
because that didn't happen, and during the accreditation audit, when we were being audited by NAB, then there was a file that the auditor decided to sample and check the website, and then he found the problem.
Okay.
So that was one example. There was a second one. The Jetseal Inc. website, then again, he has the link, displays TUV USA Inc. logo, which is not allowed by GOP 023, Section 5. So you see that there is a requirement from 17021 that describes that the customer should not make misleading use of the certification document. But TUV USA also has a document, a procedure, the GOP 023, that says you are not supposed to make use, any type of use of our logo. So the logo we are talking about is the logo you see here in the presentation. You see this TÜV Nord
Yeah.
on the bottom. That's a logo.
Yes.
There is a logo called that says TUV USA instead. So the customer is not supposed to put that in their marketing materials, the website. They shouldn't use it at all, and they were. So again, they were not following our procedure.
Okay.
Beside of that, they had a statement that says Jetsu produces all of its products to the certified quality requirements of 9001 NAS 900, which is a misleading reference to the certification applying to the products they produce. So remember, we certify the quality management system, not the product. And here
Product.
there's and here they're saying we produce our products to the certified quality requirements. So that's misleading. Misleading means that like the industry, a lot of times, or the general public, they don't know what is being certified. So, for instance, when you go to the grocery store and you buy, I don't know, like pack of cookies or something, food that has some sort of mark of certification. There are two options. Either the product is certified or the management system of the company is certified. These are two different things. So the general public, they don't know. When they see a certification mark, normally they're going to associate that to the product. So you need to make it clear that it's not the product that is certified, it's the management system. Because when you say that the product is certified, it's a complete different process. So you need to take a sample of the product, send sometimes to a laboratory. It's going to be the sample is going to be tested, validated, and then you can say, okay, the product is being
Good.
produced. Yeah. You cannot even say that it's good because good or bad is let's say it depends on like the expectation of the of the public,
Mhm.
or the use that you're going to make of a certain product. When a product is certified, you can say this product complies with the requirements of a given standard. And when the management system is certified, is the management system is certified. So the accreditation bodies, they are very, very picky on this particular aspect, especially because yeah, people may misunderstood. Instead, the management system is the product that is certified. So there was another example. The company Apple Express Courier in the website, they had the ISO 9001 AS9120 certificate that was expired. So when the certificate is expired, they are no longer certified. and but they kept the certificate in their website, which may give the impression that they are still certified.
Okay.
So all of these examples are related to the same clause of 17 or 21. So that's why he grouped all these nonconformities into just all these findings, we call them, into one nonconformity. So the objective evidence is what he found, and he is basically stating what we are not doing. And then the requirement, it says, it's 17121 A34 that states that certification body shall, through legally enforceable arrangements, require that the certified client conforms to the requirements of the certification body when making reference to its certification status in communication media, such as the internet, brochures, or advertising, or other documents. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
requirement to us. B. Does not make or permit any misleading statement regarding its certification. We should not let the customer use or permit the use of a certification document or any part thereof in a misleading manner. And the way they use the certification shall not imply that the certification applied to activities and sites that are outside the scope of certification. Then there is another requirement that he put in this nonconformity, the A35, that states the certification body shall exercise proper control of ownership and shall take action to deal with incorrect references to certification status or misleading use of certification documents, marks, or audit reports. Okay, so then that's the nonconformity.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if Pam, when explained to you the activity that you were doing for her, kind of detailed how to write a nonconformity.
No, not yet. We haven't been in that point yet.
Yeah, so basically this is how we do, because again, we tell what is wrong, we provide what we found, and we make reference to a requirement. So this is very important, Flor. In order to be a nonconformity, you need to address that against a clause of a standard, a
Mm-hmm.
guideline, a procedure. Because if you're not able to say what is the requirement, then it's not a nonconformity.
Right.
So then there are other classifications, like when you say that something could be done, you could do that in a better way, or you can control it better. Then it's like a suggestion for improvement. But if you cannot address against a requirement, it is not a nonconformity.
Okay.
Okay, so we receive a nonconformity. Now we need to address the problem. So there is a structure also to address nonconformities. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do, that is required by the accreditation bodies, that we require our customers to do as well, is to identify the root cause. The root cause is the problematic aspect or aspects of the process that, once resolved, will prevent the problem to reoccur. So we identify the root cause, then um, if that problematic aspect is addressed, we will not see that problem happening again. And there are several tools that we use for the determination of the root cause, such as the five whys and the Ishikawa fishbone. So we perform, these are tools that help with the investigation. Then, once we identify the root cause, we of course will need to do the correction of the problem. The correction of the problem is the action taken to bring the non-conforming situation into conformity. So it's a fix. We're fixing that situation. Now, there is the corrective action, and the corrective action is different from correction. Corrective action is taken to address the identified root cause that, once taken, will prevent the problem to reoccur. The corrective action shall eliminate the root cause. So, correction, you bring the problem into conformity, that specific problem that you found. And the corrective action is going to address the root cause. And if the corrective action is good, that problem should not happen again.
Okay.
Sometimes it is required a containment, and the containment is a temporary action taken to prevent the nonconformity to reoccur, while the corrective action is not implemented or in process of being implemented. So we contain, like, that's not the corrective action. This is not what is going to prevent the problem from happening again, but I'm containing the problem.
So it doesn't happen anymore.
No, for not
Oh,
happening anymore is the corrective action. The
I
con.
mean, meantime we find out that the corrective action,
Hmm.
this doesn't continues affecting, I don't know, the process or.
Yeah. So the containment is like, um. So let me give you an example. So let's say that you are manufacturing, like, headsets. Okay. So you identify the problem that the headset is a certain model of the headsets that you manufacture. Um, they're not functioning properly. Your customer complain to you and say, "Hey, we try to use the headsets and they're not working." Then you're going to check the root cause. And for instance, you identified that there is a certain component of that headset that is not adequate to that particular model. That's the
Mhm.
reason the headset is not working. You are using the wrong component for that particular model. That's the root cause. So the correction is you're going to fix those headsets that have the wrong component. So you're going to ask your customer, send me back those headsets that I sent you, and I'm going to replace the component and send you back. That's the correction.
Okay.
But you say, I'm still producing the headsets using that component that is generating the problem. What is the containment? I stop production. I say,
Oh,
until I fix this problem, I'm not shipping the headsets anymore. So that's a containment. And then what?
okay.
And then the corrective action is, Um, but then in the root cause, of course, you're going to do a deeper investigation. Like, why am I using the wrong component in this particular headset? So that's where the five eyes come from.
Okay.
So why is the headset not working properly? Investigation, because there is a wrong component being added to that headset. Second, why is the wrong component being added to that headset? Well, because the um, operator is taking the wrong component and adding to the headset. Okay, why is the operator doing that? Well, because the instruction that he used, the work instruction, is not clear on which component he should be using. And why is the work instruction not clear? Well, because the customer didn't provide the correct specification. So you can continue going until you find the root cause. So let's say the root cause is that the requirement from the customer is not transferred to the work instruction, and then the operator doesn't know. He said, "Okay, I'm using this because it's not specified which component I should use." So in that case, the corrective action is I'm going to create a work instruction that tells exactly what is the component that should go on that particular headset. Because then the operator will know and then, of course, put the correct component. Or you can
Okay.
beat something like if there are two, three types of different components, I'm going to separate those per production line. There are
Mhm.
several. I'm giving an example here, but the investigation will show
Yeah.
what's actual the root cause. So again, correction, you ask the customer to send back the headset so you can fix them. The corrective action, you're going to create a work instruction that specify exactly what is the component. The containment, you stop production. You don't ship the products until you fix everything. Then you have the verification of effectiveness. So is the method by which it is verified whether the actions taken were able to avoid the nonconformity to repeat. So let's say that we do all the actions that we just mentioned here. We fixed everything that the customer sent us back. We fixed the work instruction, and then we start production again.
Mhm.
Then the verification of effectiveness can be before we ship the next, let's say, batch of headsets to the customer, we are going to verify if the correct component was added. And if we find, okay, nice, this next batch has the correct component, then we say our action was effective because now the operator knows exactly what he's supposed to do. So this is how we address nonconformity. So a lot of problems that we see in the industry is that this concept is not clear to to the people managing the quality management system or people that are responsible to address problems. A lot of times they go only with a correction. Oh yeah, we're going to fix those headsets. Okay, but what is the root cause? Ah, yeah, the headsets were not working. No, 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 no. That's the problem. What is the root cause? Why it is not working?
Right.
So a lot of times people they confuse like what is the problem, what is the root cause, what is correction, what is corrective action. So this is the structure, and this is what you are going to see every time we need to respond to the accreditation bodies. So the for that situation that we saw, that non-conformity that we received from the accreditation body related to the use of the certification document, this is what we defined as root cause, and then you're going to see the correction and corrective action. So the root cause of that problem was the Form 5 of the last audit report at Jet Seal, which was a recertification audit, Block 30, contains the statement appropriate use of the certification documents and marks, if applicable, coverage of marks and logos verified per the requirements. So what I'm saying, this is my investigation here, Flor. So
Okay.
the accreditation body says, oh, your customer is not making correct use of your logo. And then I'm saying, okay, let me see the audit report and see if the auditor checked that in the last audit. And then on the audit report, which is the Form 5, there is a
Mhm.
block that on this form that talks about certification documents and marks, and the auditor is saying coverage of marks and logos verified per the requirements. So the auditor is saying, yeah, everything is good. The same report of the audit performed, I mean, the Form 5 Block 30 of the audit performed at DHS contains the statement, the organization used TUV certification logo in a suitable way. So My first verification, did the auditor check that? They are supposed to do that. And the evidence I have is the report. The report is the record of the audit. The report should speak for itself. And the record
Right.
I have says, yeah, we verified and everything is good. So what I say is that the two cases above shows that neither the clients or the auditors are fully aware of the rules for the use of the mark of conformity. And then there was the case with Apple Express, which was the third example that the auditor gave in his objective evidence, is that the company simply didn't follow the instructions of the suspension ladder, and the verification of removal of references to certification was not part of the process implemented by TUV USA. So when the company, in this case, where the company had their certificate was already expired and but it was still on their website, there was a suspension letter that was sent to them, and the suspension says, remove from website our certificate. And they didn't do that. But we didn't have a process to verify that. So to summarize, in my root cause, I'm saying, well, the auditors, they apparently they don't know what they're supposed to do because they say that they were doing, but actually the websites they were still wrong. And I don't have a process for verifying if after suspension the customer is really removing the certificate from the website. So this is my root cause. Correction. Request the three organizations to adjust their website and track till the actions are completed. So I'm going to have to ask the customer to fix their websites, right?
Right.
That's the correction. The corrective action. So the corrective action or even the correction, they don't need to be just one thing. They can be a combination of actions. So in this case, my corrective action is going to be one, I'm going to send a bulletin to clients, auditors, technical reviewers, and the office personnel, reminding them and providing additional explanation of the rules for the use of certification and marks of conformity. So the bulletin is a mean of communication from TUV USA to client, auditors, reviewers, and office personnel. So I'm going to show you later where we upload bulletins in workflow.
Okay.
The second action, update the AS9104 annex to the contract to include a clear reference to the GOP 023. So I'm updating the contract. Add a question to the review questionnaire in workflow. And the question is, does the organization's website comply with the requirements for use of the certification and marks of conformity? Please check company's website. So, after the audit is completed, the auditor sends the reports to TUV USA. There is a review process. And I'm adding this question to the checklist so the reviewer check the reports but also check the website. What else? I'm adding to the submit audit report screen in workflow in the software a mandatory field for the auditors to enter the link to the company's website. So when the auditors are submitting their reports in workflow, there is a field there that requires them to put the link of the website that they verified. Because then I'm forcing the auditor to tell me which link that of website, what is the link of the website that you verified? And then the reviewer can check the same thing. Incorporating the verification of the website, incorporate the verification of the website in the suspension withdrawal process. So every time we suspend or withdraw a certificate, someone is supposed to check the website of the company to see if they really removed any reference to our certificates or mark of conformity. So these are all the actions that are going to make sure that the auditor understands what they are supposed to do, the client, the reviewer, and also I'm creating some like checking mechanisms to make sure that um, the websites are correct. In this particular case, I didn't have to define a containment. Like I cannot stop doing audits, or it's not necessary because I'm informing the auditors of the problem. But I need a verification of effectiveness. And what is going to be? I'm going to sample customers that had their audits conducted after the completion of the actions of this ICAR, of this corrective action, and verify their website against the requirements. So
Mhm.
I'm going to like do what you're doing for PAM, like an internal audit, and I'm going to
Okay.
sample, check, and see. Okay, my action is good or my action is bad. Um, so this is basically how we address a nonconformity. Any question on this?
No, not so far.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I'm going to send an exercise for you, and I'm presenting here a scenario, and then I'm going to ask you to determine, like, to write the nonconformity, and then give some examples of like what could be a root cause, what could be a correction, what could be a containment, what could be a corrective action. Okay.
Okay.
So the scenario is there is a company called Legacy Insurance that is specialized on the inspection of properties that are in selling process prior to the appraisal. Appraisal is the process by which we evaluate the price of a house or a property. So it's a company that inspects the houses before they say how much that house is worth. So what was found during the inspection number 134 2021 21 performed on February 20, 2021, the inspector Ronald Goliath found that the laminated floor of the master bedroom had a portion on the right corner next to the window that was rotten due to the exposure to humidity. The part of the ceiling above the mentioned floor also shows a large stain of humidity and the paint partially peeled. So this is what the inspector found when he was inspecting a house. And then, according to the manual for qualification of properties for appraisal, the MQ 100, section 11.2.3, all rooms of the property shall be in livable condition, meaning that item C of that particular clause says no sign of mold, humidity, or water leakage shall be found in the property. The property shall have the identified problem resolved prior the appraisal process. So I'm giving here a scenario to you with
Uh-huh.
requirements, with everything. So I'm going to send you this in a Word form now, and we can come back at so for you it's 8:52 now, right?
Yeah.
8:52. So when it's
Mhm.
9:30 your time, we come back, and then you present to me your like the how you wrote the nonconformity, and your ideas of root cause, correction, corrective action. So again, this is just an example. So be creative. Like you can put like whatever you think may be the root cause and associated corrections, and then we can discuss that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let me send that to you. So what I sent to you is the very same example that we just read.
Mhm.
And then you have statement, objective evidence, requirement. So you're basically writing the nonconformity, but also define root cause, correction, corrective action, containment, and the method for verification of effectiveness. Um, Let me do this. I'm going to send you the PowerPoint presentation also because then you have uh, the definitions to help you. So
Mhm.
I'm going to send you separately here. So okay, let me know if you received.
Yeah, I received the first one, the exercise, and
Hmm,
I guess I'll receive a presentation in a couple of minutes.
perfect. Okay, so when it's 9:30 for you, we come back, okay? So you can use the same link here for the call, and then we can discuss the exercise like what you have identified, okay?
Mhm.
Okay, so
Okay.
see you in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
Thank you.
Bye bye.